was one thing he mentioned as well. He mentioned the wudu yesterday. We spoke about the wudu, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah. There is here I say what tustahabbu, bismillah, from yesterday's lesson, yeah? He said at the end when he mentioned the wudu, he said what tustahabbu tasmiyatullah ta'ala al wudu wa in lam yaf'al fa wudu'uhu tam. It is mustahab to mention the name of Allah at the beginning of wudu, but it's not an obligation. Just he say mustahab, it's good to do it. If he does it, then his wudu is complete. Now when people talk about the wudu, they refer to the statement of Ahmad ibn Hanbal. There is so many hadith da'if that says there is no wudu for the person who didn't mention his name. Now this hadith is so many narrations that it is very difficult for the people who say da'if plus da'if equal to hasan. It's very difficult for them to explain why they didn't take this hadith, because even Ahmad ibn Hanbal knew that there is so many narrations. Some people say it's up to like about 50 narrations.
Okay, this when you always say that there's a narration that Ahmad didn't even take, and there's 50 of them. But I never knew this.
So if it says لا وضوء لمن لم يذكر اسم الله عليه, there is no wudu for someone who doesn't mention the name of Allah. So on the wudu. Now these hadith here, of course, I think from those that we know, nobody take it. There are many who take it, but in a different way. They say it's an obligation to say Bismillah, referring to this hadith. But this hadith, it doesn't make Bismillah an obligation. This hadith make a Bismillah condition. You understand? There is no wudu for someone who doesn't mention the name of Allah. It's just like there is no prayer for someone who doesn't do wudu. So if you don't do wudu, whether intentionally or your prayer is not accepted. And also, if you don't say Bismillah, according to this hadith which is weak, if you don't say Bismillah, then your wudu is invalid. It should be, because this is the sigha, what we call the shart. When you say there is no, people when they say, you know what the difference between condition and obligation? Yeah, obligation, you don't do it, people will say, oh, what, you forgot it. People don't, many times people don't can't see the difference between condition there is no the difference between condition and because they say, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, لا جناح عليكم فيما أخطأتم به. There is no harm on what you have done by mistake, or you have forgotten. Definitely there is no harm, there is no sin. I mean, someone didn't pray, someone has forgotten to pray, and he has forgotten all his life, he never remembered it, and then he died. There is no harm. Allah will ask him, if he asks him about it, I didn't remember, there is no harm. We are not talking now, and if someone stand up and does wudu without saying Bismillah, we will say there is no harm that he didn't say Bismillah at the beginning. He forgotten. Except that the hadith doesn't say say Bismillah. The hadith say if you don't say Bismillah, there is no wudu. So the sin, there is no sin, except that you have not done wudu. Now you have to do it again. You understand what? You understand the point here. However, there is a hadith. Ahmad ibn Hanbal, when he made this statement, people might think straight away that okay, that's mean Ahmad ibn Hanbal said there is no hadith concerning this matter. The only thing that I can think of that he meant that there is no hadith that says there is no wudu for someone, because this is a different statement from saying say Bismillah in your wudu. Because Ahmad narrated the hadith with isnad in condition of Bukhari that says tawadda'u Bismillah. do wudu in the name of Allah. So that is, we make it an obligation to say Bismillah. It's not to condition. So if you forget, you forget.
So, and your wudu will still be accepted.
Yeah, your wudu will be accepted if you don't say Bismillah by mistake. You understand? If you have forgotten. So that hadith is in Nasa'i and Ahmed.
What's wrong with it?
No, there is nothing wrong with it. It's a condition of Bukhari. The only thing is, so
would you be at fault if you, because of wiswas, you done it again with Bismillah? You wouldn't, even though you accept the fact that you don't have to say Bismillah.
No, you have to say Bismillah.
Okay.
I said there is hadith that says do wudu in the name of Allah. You understand?
Okay.
Condition of Bukhari.
It's not the hadith. All the men are trustworthy. So you have to say Bismillah, but it's not a condition. I mean, we have spoken about this before. So this hadith, when Ahmed ibn Hanbal, for example, you see people, the problem with the fuqaha, most of the time, that includes Ibn Hazm. Ibn Hazm does think and does bring new things, did bring new things. But the majority of the fuqaha, of the famous ones, like Nawawi, Hajar, Qayyim, Ibn Taymiyyah, you know what they do? Like the previous ones have written books. The previous one before that, Bayhaqi or Ahmed ibn Hanbal have spoken about the matter. Then they come and they take these books
And they summarize everything.
and then, okay, this person said this person said this person said this, and then they will look at the matter with what is available, what people have said. I mean, they don't think to get something extra, like, okay, maybe there is an ayah that someone have missed. So all the time, for long time, people just dealing with the same, with what Ahmed ibn Hanbal, with Bukhari, what you see, Abu Hanifa thought, Malik thought, Shafi'i thought, Ahmed ibn Hanbal thought. They discussed, finish. We discuss it within this form.
Their barriers.
This is, you understand? To add something, could they have missed it? Okay, if for example Abu Hanifa missed something and Malik come with something, and Shafi'i could come with something later, and Ahmed ibn Hanbal after that could come with something, why not someone else will come? And so they stop there, just discussing these matters. The same dalil. They don't go and try to, maybe there is another dalil that they have not looked at. Maybe there is, no, they don't never do that. Most of them, for the time, of course. It's very, very few who thinks like Ahmed Ibn Hazm used to do that. But it doesn't mean that he does it all the time. But he does it. He just doesn't limit himself to.
And these later ones, they criticize Hazm.
No, so
these later ones.
Yeah.
They criticize Ibn Hazm.
Of course, they criticize Ibn Hazm not for this. They criticize Ibn Hazm for bringing new things that they don't criticize him. Ibn Hazm, they had to, they criticize him because they don't agree with his manhaj, but they accept the fact that they take his books and they mention him because he has done something. It's just not taking the, Ibn Qayyim books. What does he do? Like, take here, this one, and discuss. He will look at the evidence and they will say this one is right, this one is wrong. He does not add almost anything, you understand? He's just discussing, and someone would come like, okay, we have the books, I will say this is the best. You will look at it, no, this is right, no, you understand, and try to explain why you think it's right, but not adding anything. Even his book of usul, of usul I'lam al-Muwaqqi'in, some people, people who understand can see that there is nothing of value in that book. Therefore, despite the Ibn Hazm, Ibn Qayyim, despite, people don't refer to I'lam al-Muwaqqi'in. You understand? Even those who are mad about him and about they don't. There is nothing you can refer to. Like, you understand? Some people, even when they refer to it, it's like referring stupidly. You understand? He referring to a paragraph which is in Ibn al-Qayyim, which has been taken from a book previously. You understand? How can you always refer to the main source, not to? And his book is just like he took a book of Ibn Hazm of Usul Fiqh and he answered back. Even when Ibn Hazm found it clearly that book he wrote it just based on the book of Ibn Hazm. Where Ibn Hazm make mistake, like Ibn Hazm sometimes he will say hadith which is da'if, and he will say this hadith is sahih because apparently the isnad is sahih. And Ibn Hazm would have known that people before him criticized this hadith, but it's not his business. He doesn't care. For him, the isnad looks sahih, so he will mention it. That because Ibn Qayyim will take it as sahih. He doesn't know that this hadith has been actually very. People say it's invalid, but he doesn't know that because he is just limiting himself. He's looking at Ibn Hazm and answering Ibn Hazm. So he will think, okay, if this hadith was sahih, Ibn Hazm would have said it. If someone has criticized this hadith, Ibn Hazm would have mentioned it. You understand? And he made himself like. He made a lot of mistakes in that. This is the matter with the fuqaha, that people think that they are perfect. مسألة 199. He said وأما مسح الأذنين فليس فرضا. As for the wiping of the ears is not an obligation. ولا هما من الرأس, and they are not part of the head. He said لأن الآثار في ذلك واهية كلها. That's because all the hadith regarding this matter are weak, and we have explained how it's weak in other places, not back in some other books, either in other books or here, I don't remember. He said ولا يختلف أحد من أن البياض الذي بين منابت الشعر من الرأس وبين الأذنين ليس هو من الرأس في حكم الوضوء. He said there is no difference, like there is no different opinion, like everybody agrees that the whiteness between the ear and the hair,
this problem.
Yeah, he said everybody agrees that this is not part of the head when it comes to wudu. Like you have to put water in this side. You understand? He said everybody agrees that this part is
the face.
The part of the between the what's called this one?
Side bands
of the hair and the ear. He said everybody agrees that it's from the face, that you have to wash it with the face. He said this side, beside the ear.
I don't know whether that's.
Yeah, he said this
behind
side,
the ear. You say behind the ear?
Yeah, behind the ear, the whiteness between the ear. He said nobody disagree that this part is part of the face. Yeah, this is not part of the face, the head. So he says that this part is from the face. So you have to wash it with the water.
Is that what Ibn Hazm?
Well, that is what he says. I don't remember reading this before. He said nobody disagree that this part behind the ear
part of the face
is part of the face. That's what he says.
Oh, the neck.
If he said part of the head, I understand, because you could wipe.
He say it is not part of the head. He didn't say it's part of the face, but he said it's not part of the head when it comes to wudu. So you don't. So if you are going to, for example, to wipe, you can't go and wipe like here. You understand? He says, and it says فمن المحال أن يكون يحول بين أجزاء الرأس الحي عضو ليس من الرأس. He said it's not possible to think that between the head and the head, if the ear is part of the head, he said if the ear is part of the head and this is the head, ear is part of the head, he said it's impossible to think that there is something in between which is not from the head. You understand?
Who's saying that?
Ibn Hazm.
He's saying this is not part of the head?
No, Ibn Abbas says that the ears are from the head. There is hadith marfu' which is da'if.
From him?
No, there is hadith marfu' from many Sahaba about 10 or some narration. The Bayhaqi mentions, I think, 11 narration all week about the ears being part of the head. But the Prophet said it, even though there is so many narrations. This is one of the hadith that people say it's da'if, even though there is so many narrations. But what happens is, now for Ibn Abbas has said it. He's saying, not the Prophet saying. Now Ibn Hazm is putting it this way. He say, if you say that this is the head and the ears are the head, from the head, part of the head, that's mean there is part in between the head and the head. The ear is head, and this is the head, and this is part. He said, this are part here. Everybody agrees it's not part of the head. I don't know where he got it, that everybody agrees. Of course, except to say, okay, if you ask someone, could you wipe here? No, if he says no, you can't. So he is saying that this is not part of the head. So how are you saying that this is head and this is head? In between them there is like a bridge or something? You understand? So he said it's not possible that we think that one limb is broken into two parts, like one limb
gap like in between. Gap.
This is a hand. And this is a hand. In the middle, it's not a hand. You understand? He said, وأيضا, he said also, if the ears were part of the head, it would be wajib to shave the ears in Hajj.
Okay. Yeah.
But
as if you have hair.
Yeah. But it's like some people they have like hair or something. No, but it's not wajib. There is no wajib to cut the hair in Hajj anyway. It's just good. It's you have to cut part of the hair. All he can say, if it's part of the head and there is hair on the hair on the ear, that instead of cutting anything, someone can choose not to cut any part of his hair. He say, okay, I'm going to just cut with the one on the hair, on the ear, and that is enough. Since they say no, it's not enough, then they say, okay, that means it's not part of the head. But the thing is, from the
Arabic language, that's what I'd like to know. Is this part here, in the Arabic language, part of the head or not?
Well, this is what he is saying, that it is not. And everybody, he is claiming.
He's saying everyone.
He is claiming that everybody agrees. Now this is when he say everybody agrees, it's means from Arabic language part. You understand?
So whenever he says
you
this,
don't take it like this way.
I'm saying whenever he would say this, would he always have done his research to say this from the Arabic language? Everyone says it's from the Arabic language, or is he just saying it to strengthen his argument?
He is saying it here, unless he refer us and mentions who said it. Like from the Arabs, that this part is not called.
So,
you understand? Head. Then, even if someone says that this part is not, this will be accepted from the Prophet. I mean, how a person is born. I am born. I have my own language. I have a language anyway. We all have a language. Now, if someone comes and say this part is not called.
In my language.
Like he, in his language, he come and say this small part here. We will say, how did you come to that conclusion? I mean, in my age now, I have been talking to my family in my community, and I don't know if they consider this part to be head or not. So if someone says it, we will say, how did you come to that conclusion? You understand? I mean,
maybe the skull. This is the skull, isn't it? This I don't know.
So this is the skull. So when you go down, it turns to the neck.
This is a difficult.
He says, وَقَدْ ذَكَرْنَا, and we have mentioned the Burhan. He said, we have already spoken about, and we have proved that it's not necessary to wipe all the head in wudu, just part of it. He said, if the ears were part of the head, you just wipe the ear. You don't have to wipe the head then, because it's part of it.
So you just do one ear.
Yes. He says, He said, and this, nobody says it. He said also, we tell them, if they are part of the head, why do you take more new water for them? Like in the madahib, when they do the hair, the ears, they do the head, and then they take some water for the air, new water. He said, why do you take, it's one limb, why do you take new water? I mean, you don't do that with the hand, you don't do that with the face. He said, people who do qiyas especially, he said, in which thingy did you see, in which limb? I mean, people who do qiyas. Yeah. Did you find that you can take, you have to do part of it with some water and the other part with different water? Like half of the hand up to here with some water, and then this part with different water.
We do.
No, it's not question. It's question. You can't finish it with the same water. That's why you do that. It's not question of you are going to do water here and then you do water here because you think it is different or it's better or it's question of you are doing water but you can't complete it. Then you complete it with some water. That is different. Now when you do masah, you still have water. You don't require a lot of water. You understand? But still, they do masah, then they go and put some new water, and then they do the ears.
I was referring to the fact, we start wudu, we wash our hands first, and then when we do, then we go back when we're doing our arms, we go back there.
Yeah, but that first wudu, it's not part of wudu.
Wudu, you start with the face.
Wudu start with the madmada and the istinshaq. The one that you do first that has nothing to do with wudu. That is just you do it so you don't put your hand in the vessel. But yesterday when he said, if you put your hand in the vessel, actually, if you remember, he said you have to put your hands in all cases. But he didn't say why.
And then when you start wudu,
you have to do it again.
Yeah.
You have to
it's fine when it's even fine even if I am not going to put my hand in the vessel to say Bismillah, start.
So how did you start?
You don't have to do your one hands if you are not going to put your hands in the vessel.
I do that. Well,
I say you don't have to. Okay. I don't say you don't do it. Yeah. You don't have to because there is no.
Yeah, I understand that.
Have to what?
You don't have to wash your hands 3 times
at the beginning. Yeah.
At the beginning, if you are not going to put it inside the water, if you are taking water from like the top or something.
That's why all the hadith in Bukhari, because the Prophet put his hand, he started this.
No, his question, he said like this. He said if someone wakes up from sleep, he should put his hand
before putting his hand into the vessel.
He should wash his hand before he put it in the vessel. But now, if you are not going to put it in the vessel, you understand? Ibn Hazm say you have to wash your hand anyway 3 times. You
wake up from sleep.
Yeah, but what does it say that you have to wash your hands anytime? It is good to wash your hand anyway. It is mustahab because of the hadith of what's called the hadith of Uthman, that the Prophet, when he did wudu, he started 3 times, and at the end he said, whoever does wudu like my wudu. You understand? Some people might say that is not included. Some people might argue and say that it's still not wudu, because that is not wudu. The 3 times is not wudu. He said the wudu starts from face. You understand? And the 3 times that he had done, that is just before the wudu. And there is of course he can say this. This is a strong argument as well. He can say he's not referring to everything that he has done. Taking for example, we don't say, you have to have a container with you, even though he had a container there. You understand? He is referring to wudu only, and washing it 3 times before the wudu is not wudu. It's not part for the wudu. So some people can argue this way. Just okay. Then we go to. He said, so there is no hadith sahih regarding the ears. Therefore, the ears are not
part
of the head. Yeah.
He wants you to read in Arabic.
Yeah, but I think I don't know. He didn't repeat it because when he was here, I was not reading in Arabic at the last time. It will take a long time to finish. Bismillah. So 200 مسألة. وأما قولنا في الرجلين فإن القرآن نزل بالمسح. He said, as regarding the feet, The Quran have mentioned the masah, the wiping. قال الله تعالى وامسحوا برؤوسكم وأرجلكم. Okay? وامسحوا برؤوسكم وأرجلكم. Now the qira'ah says وامسحوا برؤوسكم, the famous one, وامسحوا برؤوسكم وأرجلكم.
When you say famous, which recitation is that in?
No, there is many narrations. There is like in Dori, there is the narration of the majority. Read فامسحوا برؤوسكم وأرجلكم إلى الكعبة.
So the majority of the reciters, they say white.
Yes. Why?
So it's only Asim.
No. The majority. He says, what he says here. He say we don't care if you read it with kasra or fatha. Now his point of view. He is someone who was known in Arabic. He was one of the Ibn Hazm. In Arabic, he was someone that people refers to as well. I mean, so he says whether you read it with kasra or fatha, it's still ma'tuf on the head. That is something that we think is wrong. He said whether it is atf on the word or on the place, it's nothing different, nothing else. He said because it is not right, it's wrong that ma'tuf and ma'tuf alayh should be there should be no separation between ma'tuf and ma'tuf alayh with something, with a new statement, with a new something new. Like okay, like say, let's me try to make up some ma'tuf and ma'tuf alayh. Like جاء محمد جاء محمد جاء محمد وضرب جاء محمد وضرب سعيدا وزيد. جاء محمد came وضرب سعيدا. So he hit Sa'id and then وزيد. Now when I say Zaydun, you can't say Zaydun is ma'tuf to on Sa'id.
No, because
you understand? Because it's Zaydun. So Zaydun here we say it's ma'tuf on Muhammad. You understand? So I'm saying in a way جاء محمد وزيد وضرب محمد سعيدا. You understand? So he says, no, is it possible to put it this way? Is it, I said it, and now I said it, but is it possible in the Arabic language to put it this way?
The first way,
yeah, first way. Like, جاء محمد, I want to say, Muhammad and Zayd came, and Muhammad hit Sa'id. So I say, جاء محمد فضرب سعيدا وزيد. Is it? He says this is in Arabic is not acceptable.
Unacceptable.
Yeah, that's what he's saying.
Yeah, because generally it comes out the second time. They say
no. It says the ma'tuf and ma'tuf alayh. Muhammad and Zayd, which are ma'tuf and ma'tuf alayh. He said you can't separate them with a new statement,
like new sentence.
No, new sentence which is like daraba sa'idan. You understand? So he says here, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, فَامْسَحُوا بِرُؤُوسِكُمْ يَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا إِذَا قُمْتُمْ إِلَى الصَّلَاةِ فَاغْسِلُوا وُجُوهَكُمْ. Why wash your faces? فَاغْسِلُوا وُجُوهَكُمْ وَأَيْدِيَكُمْ, and your hands إِلَى الْمَرَافِقِ وَامْسَحُوا بِرُؤُوسِكُمْ, then wipe on your head. Look, that is wash, that is totally different. Wipe your head. وَأَرْجُلَكُمْ, and your feet. Now your feet, ma'tuf and ma'tuf alayh, is differently similar. It has to be like if it's وَامْسَحُوا بِرُؤُوسِكُمْ وَأَرْجُلِكُمْ, it has to be أَرْجُلِكُمْ, not أَرْجُلَكُمْ. It can't be in the Arabic language. It's not. If he says, and the Arabic language is not known, that's such ma'tuf and ma'tuf alayh, like the feet will be ma'tuf on head, and it will have fatha rather than kasra. Because ru'usikum has kasra, arjulikum has to have kasra. In the Arabic language, I don't think that he can find any proof, anything similar to say, okay, معطوف and معطوف عليه they are different in i'rab. So if he says, okay, it's not, we can't find it, but it is in Quran and Allah knows Arabic better than anybody, we say yes. Same thing we tell you, maybe you don't know in Arabic language that there is a separation between ma'tuf and ma'tuf alayh, and Allah knows Arabic better than anybody, and He made the you understand? And we found that actually to take it as masih, the Prophet have done masih. The only place he could have taken it from is from this ayah. You understand?
He didn't know the hadith. He didn't see the hadith.
No, he knows. He says that there is masih, but he does. You see, for him, it's. You will see how he argued. He says because ma'tuf and ma'tuf alayh shouldn't be separated. He said, وهكذا جاء عن ابن عباس. He said this is how Ibn Abbas said. Ibn Abbas said that Quran. No, Ibn Abbas said that Quran have mentioned the masih, the wiping. Not, you understand? Ibn Abbas had one narration. He had his narration. If Ibn Abbas says the Quran have come with the masih, that means he used to read the narration which says فَامْسَحُوا بِرُؤُوسِكُمْ وَأَرْجُلِكُمْ, and that will make it masih. He said يعني في الرجلين في الوضوء وقد قال بالمسح على الرجلين جماعة من السلف. He said a group of salaf used to say that you wipe on the feet rather than washing. Example Ali ibn Abi Talib, the Shia do it. He said Ibn Abbas, Hasan, Akrima, Sha'bi and جماعة غيرهم وهو قول الطبري ورويت في ذلك آثار. طبري, the mufassir, you know, he is like, he has many different, he has Tabari in his tafsir, he bring a lot of opinions. He takes or chooses sometimes some opinions. Yes, he's very good in Arabic. He takes sometimes opinions that he has no precedent. And that is not a question of sometimes they are right, sometimes they are wrong. But where he is right is good. I mean, he used his head. I mean, that is why writing a book is to explain people something that they don't know. If you are going to just repeat what people have written, better you don't. So, but however, here when he says Ibn Abbas, he didn't bring the tafsir of Ibn Abbas that Ibn Abbas have said this. I mean, this should be verified that it is from Ibn Abbas, because most of the tafsir of Ibn Abbas is a lie. It's from liars. Muqatil and or
killers, you mean? When you say Muqatil?
Muqatil is someone, Mufassir.
His name is Killer.
No, what
Muqatil is the fighter.
The fighter.
Not Qatil.
Oh, Muqatil.
Mufa'il.
Mufa'il is the killer.
Yeah. Fa'il is killer. If you say Qatil, it will be killer.
No, but if it has Muqat with a fatha.
Yeah, Muqatil is Mufa'il, which means a fighter.
But a lot of people quote Ibn Abbas tafsir.
Yes, but most of the tafsir is a lie. There is a book called Tafsir Ibn Abbas.
Most of it is lies.
No, all of it is lies. I mean, that book, you shouldn't refer to it at all. You understand? Maybe there is something which is sahih if you verify it from another book, but the book itself is a lie. So, he said here, minha athar, he said, and there is, regarding this, there is many hadith. He said, for example, the hadith of Hammam bin Yahya, from Ishaq bin Abdullah bin Abi Talha. Hammam bin Yahya, there is different opinions about him. Ishaq bin Abdullah bin Abi Talha is thiqa. From Ali bin Yahya bin Khallad, from his father, both of them can consider it either to be weak or majhul. They are not that famous. From his Rifa'a bin Rafi'. This is the hadith that he mentioned yesterday, that they say, the Prophet said, إِنَّهَا لَا تَجُوزُ صَلَاةُ أَحَدِكُمْ, the salat of any of you will not be completed until he does wudu the way Allah ordered him. Then he washes his face and his hands to the elbow and wipe his head and his feet to the Ka'bayn. The problem here is this hadith, many people refer to it. Many people take the things that are in it regarding in Salah, because this hadith is very long hadith. It mentions a lot of stuff, and people refer to this hadith, and then they use it as proof on the things that they say about Salah, that you have to pray in this way, you have to do this, you have to do that. But it mentions that you have to wipe on your feet, but they don't take it.
So Hazm's opinion, you have to wipe on your feet?
No, it's not. He doesn't say that you have to wipe on your feet.
This is the Arabic language.
No, he is talking that the Quran have mentioned is the wiping. What the Quran mentioned is wiping. That's what he's saying. But he will say that it's mansukh later. He will say it's abrogated.
Okay.
So he said, he narrates here from Abdi Khair, from A'mash, from Abdi Khair, from Ali. This is the narration that mostly they rely on, and Abdi Khair is not someone that you should take hadith from. From Ali, that he said, I used to think that the wiping of below the feet is more worthy from wiping on the top of the feet. I mean, you walk with your feet below.
Ali said this, yeah.
Yes. This is according to the hadith for Abdi Khair, of course. If the hadith was sahih, we are just mentioning the hadith. So he said, I used to think that wiping below the feet is more worthy of doing rather than wiping on the top. This is like makes sense. If you walk with your feet not upside down. He said, until I saw the Prophet wiping on the top. So he referring to the feet, not to the khuf in this hadith. Also, he mentions, then he says, we say that you have to do ghusl, you have to wash your feet rather than wipe them, for the hadith which is narrated by Bukhari from Abdullah bin Amr bin As, that the Prophet was behind us in a travel. They were traveling and the Prophet stayed behind. He said, he reached us, it was the time of Asr, like the time of Asr was almost finished. So we started doing wudu and we started wiping on our feet. Then the Prophet said, shouted loudly, وَيْلٌ لِلْأَعْقَابِ مِنَ النَّارِ, woe to the heels from hellfire.
That's because this is mansukh.
Yes, he said the Prophet said it twice or three times. Now he narrates another hadith from same hadith from Abdullah bin Amr bin As. He said, we went with the Prophet from Mecca to Medina, and we reached a place where there is water. Some people quickly did wudu at the time of Asr, so they did wudu quickly. When we reached them, they were doing, we could see their heels not being touched with water. He said, the Prophet said, woe to the heels from hellfire. Asbighul wudu. Then he said, Asbighul wudu. At the end of the hadith, Asbighul wudu. This Asbighul wudu at the end of the hadith, there is different opinions. Some people say it's mudraj.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. But in the hadith of Abdullah bin Amr bin As is likely to be, it's not mudraj. The mudraj is the hadith of Abi Hurairah. So he said, فَأَمَرَ عَلَيْهِ السَّلَامِ بِإِسْبَاغِ الْوُضُوءِ فِي الرِّجْلَيْنِ. He said the Prophet ordered people to do isbagh of wudu, to complete the wudu in the feet. And he warned them with fire for not washing the heels. He said, then this hadith now is extra, it has extra information, it carries extra hukm from the ayah and the other hadith that we have mentioned, and therefore it is abrogation to the previous ones. And also because we have to take the ayah and take the hadith together. The ayah just say masah and the hadith. So if you apply this hadith, you are not contradicting the ayah. But if you take the ayah, you are contradicting this hadith. This is the way he put it. He said, وَلَقَدْ كَانَ He said, and those who say that we shouldn't take the hadith if it contradicts the Quran, if
We see this.
the Ahnaf, for example. The Ahnaf, they say if there is an ayah in Quran, the Quran we should never do anything, neither takhsis or of Quran with hadith ahad.
So they're not doing nusukh when hadith ahad. It is.
For them, in their rules, there is no nasakh for Quran except by Quran or hadith mutawatir, according to the Ahnaf. According to the Shafi'is, no, that is when it comes to nasakh. According to the Shafi'is,
Takhsis is fine.
there is no for the Ahnaf, there is no takhsis with ahadith ahad.
Shafis.
For Shafi'is, there is takhsis with ahadith ahad. For Shafi'is, there is no nasakh for Quran by Sunnah.
So the Quran can't do that.
They say Quran can't be abrogated by Sunnah, any Sunnah, mutawatir or not mutawatir. Quran can be abrogated according to Shafi'is only by Quran. According to the Ahnaf, it's not question Quran and Sunnah, it's question mutawatir, not mutawatir. Say Quran mutawatir, came with a group of people. And Sunnah, if it's mutawatir, then it can abrogate Quran. It's not mutawatir, it can't abrogate Quran. But they do.
But Shafi'i, this is Sunnah. All Sunnah.
All Sunnah can't abrogate Quran. Totally abrogation. You know, total abrogation and part abrogation. There is like an ayah that is abrogated totally, and then there is something called takhsis, for example. You understand? Abrogated totally, that means that ayah, you don't use it anymore. It just, you read it, but it's like
The Quran we have now, we use everything.
we do that. But abrogation means this, that the ayah is not to be used anymore. You understand? So, according to the Shafi'is, that is not possible to be done by Sunnah. According to the Ahnaf, it's not possible that it is done by hadith ahad, but it can be done by mutawatir.
Okay. But with the Shafis, they don't accept any. We said that already. But what about takhsis? How do they then apply
Takhsis? No, Shafi'is say takhsis can be done with anything, with Quran or Sunnah ahad.
Ahad or mutawatir.
It's the Ahnaf that says Quran, the neither abrogation, neither takhsis. Even takhsis, they say takhsis can't be done. Quran.
So Ahad is about mutawatir or ahad.
Yes, they say where there is mutawatir and ahad, you can't do takhsis for Quran. Like for example, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَالسَّارِقُ وَالسَّارِقَةُ فَاقْطَعُوا أَيْدِيَهُمَا. The thief and the man and the woman cut their hands. Now it's the Quran says you have to cut their hands. Doesn't say if they have stolen such how much money. Now the Ahnaf say it's only they do takhsis. I mean that is the rule that they follow, but that is the rule that they make. But
For the Malikis.
no, the Malikis don't have this opinion. Malikis say the Quran can be done, takhsis can be done, and they just say like the Hanbalis and the Zahiris, they say Quran can be done, can takhsis or abrogation can be done by anything. The Malikis maybe they do nasakh of Quran by nothing. I mean the majority do nasakh of Quran by nothing. Even the Shafi'is, sometimes they do nasakh of Quran by nothing. Even the Quran say ما ننسخ من آية, if we abrogate an ayah, أو ننسها نأتي بخير منها أو مثلها. So it has to be abrogated by something, and that thing is either an ayah or something better.
an ayah better?
So it's only what is better than an ayah is another ayah. So, but the majority, they use this ayah as proof for nasakh. Then the Shafi'is, for example, sometime many ayah, they will make takhsis of them, nasakh of them by hadith. And the Shafi'is also, in many occasions, they do nasakh with what we call, they do nasakh sometimes with ayah, with hadith. Even the Ahnaf, sometimes they do nasakh with hadith.
What?
Hadith ahad.
Really?
No, that is the rule. Rules are meant to be broken. You understand? That is.
Well, this is the Shafi'i, not Imam Shafi'i or Abu Hanifa. This is what the group,
Yeah, even Shafi'i.
Said it.
Look, Shafi'i is a human being. he was not used to follow anybody, so you can't accuse him of playing around. You see, he has his opinion. He was not attached to anybody. He was not working for someone, or you understand, and he has to do a duty. It's his followers. His followers, when you see them playing around, that is, you can say, I mean, you have a rule and then you break the rule, and he made a mistake. Normal. He says something and then
his followers play around.
But his followers, of course, they play around. There are people like that should never be trusted. I mean, if the hadith stayed, alhamdulillah, the hadith has been, at the time when the madahib started, the hadith was like finished. The hadith started to become mutawatir. Like every book is published, you don't need isnad for it anymore, because there was no many trustworthy people afterwards. Even these people that people talk about them, when you look at their books and you see their love for their imam, it's not such a person, you will never think that, oh, this person will not make a hadith to this imam. He will make it. So let's the wiping. He said this hadith, the way he said, وَلَقَدْ كَانَ يَلْزَمُ مَنْ يَقُولُ بِتَرْكِ الْأَخْبَارِ لِلْقُرْآنِ أَنْ يَتْرُكَ هَذَا الْخَبَرَ لِلْآيَةِ. He said those who say we don't take the hadith if it contradicts the Quran, they should have left this hadith of Abdullah ibn Amr. They shouldn't use it because this hadith is ahad and it contradicts the Quran, according to Ibn Hazm, and according to these people as well, some of these people. He said لأن وجدنا الرجلين يسقط حكمهما في التيمم. He said because we have found that, and he said also those who don't take the hadith because of qiyas, they should leave this hadith. He said because the feet, when you wipe, when you do tayammum, you don't wipe them. You just wipe your. He said also the head, when you do tayammum, you don't wipe your head, just the face and the hands. He said so we should say that the feet are like the head rather than to be like the hands and the. I mean, when you do tayammum, both of them are not going to use them. So the feet should be like the head, so it should be wiped rather than. وأيضا فالرجلان مذكوران مع الرأس. He said also the feet are mentioned with the head. So to put them together with the things that are mentioned with is more likely, like to put them with the head and to wipe them therefore is more stronger opinion than, because qiyas, if you do qiyas, you understand, the feet are mentioned with the head, so you should.
You mean you get extra point this way?
You understand? He said also the head is the top all together. I mean, the top of the body, and the feet are the top, the bottom of the body. He said so. Doing the qiyas, there is something like similar. This is the edge and this is the edge. He said so. With doing qiyas, this is similar to this. So, and yes. He said so doing the qiyas of something which is in the edge is better than doing qiyas on something on the middle. He said also they say that you do masah on the khuffayn. He said, and therefore by qiyas, wiping on something that is normally wiped, like when you take off the you normally do qiyas, you do wiping on the khuf. So when you take the khuf, you have to keep the wiping. Why do you do ghusl?
This is what he says.
Yeah, he said qiyas. The people who do qiyas, he said this is how they should see it. He says also, he said also when it is fine to do wiping on anything that on something that covers the feet. I mean, since you can do wiping on something that covers the feet, but you can't do wiping on something that covers the face. Like for example, a woman wearing burqa, you can't say, okay, just because she is wearing burqa now she can wipe on the burqa rather than washing her face. He said, since this is different from this, the way they talk, the way they speak, it shows like the feet are not very as important. You understand? So it's not as important as the face and the hands. And because of course they don't, when you do tayammum, it's not you don't do it, so it's not they are not as important. So they should do qiyas here and say, la, it's just like the head, and you have to do the wiping. He said, and with all these rulings here, the people of qiyas should have come to the conclusion that the feet should not be washed, just wiped. They say this is the best qiyas if they understand qiyas. This is their way of qiyas, and they say this is the best qiyas. There is no answer for this qiyas, but they play around. Sometimes qiyas, sometimes not. He said some of them said the hukm of the body in the tayammum, the hukm of the body, the rest of the body, we don't do anything in tayammum. We don't touch it with. We don't wipe when someone is in janaba, for example. He doesn't do tayammum to his body. He said.
Ammar bin Yasir.
Yes, he said, and that didn't mean that we have to we have to wipe the body, do masah on body, on ghasl. He said, Ibn Hazm say, yeah, we say the truth, that you say you are right, and that just shows that your qiyas is invalid. I mean, they argued back. They said, yeah, you are saying this, but the answer for that is the body also doesn't have to be wiped. And that is a question between them. They can argue that way, but for someone who says no qiyas, the answer is yes, that's true. It just shows that qiyas is invalid. He says then, وقال بعضهم لما قال الله تعالى في الرجلين إلى الكعبين كما قال في الأيدي إلى المرافق دل على أن الحكم الرجلين حكم الذراعين. He said, some of them said, since Allah said to the elbow, to the heels, the way he said, what is it, to heels, yeah?
Heels, this?
No, yes.
Ankles.
To the ankles, the way he said to the elbow, he said, since Allah said, gave limit.
This is Allah say ila
al-Ka'bayn, yeah.
So you wash
up to the Ka'bayn. So he says here, since Allah said up to the elbow, and some of them said as answer to argue that why they do ghusl of the feet, why they wash the feet rather than wiping the feet. Some of them said, since Allah said the hands up to the elbow, and He said the feet up to the ankles, that shows that the feet are like the hands. They have to be washed. Of course, it doesn't. Can you see that because Allah mentioned up to here and this up to here, that has to be ghusl and this was ghusl? Of course, people say, some people who don't have.
Would be good qiyas actually.
How it has qiyas? Because Allah said this up to here and He said this up to here. That means this has to be ghusl and this has to be ghusl. I mean, someone stupid who doesn't know, he will just sit and he opens his mouth. Look, this person can talk. You understand? Someone who doesn't understand. It's not like, this person can give evidence. This person can talk.
Yeah, no, that's what I mean.
You understand?
Up to here, up to here.
So he said, قيل له ليس ذكر المرفقين والكعبين دليل على وجوب غسل ذلك. He said, the mentioning of the marafiq, of the elbows, and the mentioning of the ka'b, ankles, is not proof that you have to wash them. That is because Allah has mentioned the face, and He didn't mention a limit. And when he mentioned the head, he didn't mention limit. Why don't you do qiyas of face on the head then? You understand? He said, when Allah ordered to do ghusl of the hands, you have to do ghusl. And if he has not mentioned that in the feet, then you don't have to do it. That's all. He said, because look, if you say, because the feet are mentioned up to the ankles and the hands up to the elbow, that's mean both of them have to have the same ghusl. Or okay, since the hands you have to wash the hands, that's mean you have to wash the feet. What about someone says, okay, since Allah have mentioned the feet up to the ankles, and from the ayah it's clear that you have to wipe them, and he mentioned the hand up to the elbow, that you have to wipe the hands. You understand?
Keep the qiyas.
Yeah. If someone, just give them the opposite. Because tell them, look, since Allah mentioned the face and He didn't mention a limit, and He mentioned the head and He didn't mention the limit, since the face you wash it, then the head you have to wash it. Or no, the opposite. Because since the head is only wiping, so the face you have to be wiped. So it doesn't make sense at all. I mean, this is just things that people always when they bring something like this, think about it, and you will find that it doesn't make sense at all, and then you give them the same answer. And he said, then he says, the hukm, we take hukm from the nas, from Quran and Sunnah, not from the claims and doubts and suspicions. And it's finished. Is it time or?
It's 7:45.
Yeah.
How long is the next Salat?
I don't know. The next one is a bit long because it's a bit long. But you can take full. Yeah. First, next one is about 4, 1, 2, 3.
What's about?
4, 5, 6. Wiping on the imamah, because there is different opinions about this.